New York City has many icons that represent the class division in USA. Some of those icons are the buildings, especially the two biggest buildings in New York, the Empire State Building and the fallen World Trade Center Twin Towers. USA was thought as a classless nation where everyone is the same, but on the reality there exist at least three aspects that can be used to rank a person on a class level. Now, in some aspects, the class division can be shown by the idea that the higher class level building has the better people. The Empire State Building and the World Trade Center Twin Towers are two buildings that represent the class division on three main aspects: the political, economical, and cultural, each one with their subdivisions. Yet, the World Trade Center Twin Towers has the higher class representation of those two buildings. The World Trade Center building was a powerful building where the main dominance was performed on New York City. The importance from the political aspects of the World Trade Center Twin Towers was higher than the dominance and influence from the Empire State Building. Starting with the Empire State, importance and dominance developed by the main building was entirely media spreading because on the Empire State Building facilities there are located several radio stations and TV sets. In contrast with the World Trade Center building, because on their facilities there were located a lot of big government offices where a lot of important decisions were taken. Also, other aspects of the political branch was that on the World Trade Center was having two towers higher than the Empire State Building. That gives an influence on the people because the World Trade Center was thought as a more aggressive building than the Empire State Building by its geometrical shape. So, in the political aspect, we can conclude that the World Trade Center was more important than the Empire State Building. From the economical aspect, the World Trade Center was a more dominant and wealthy building than the Empire State, defining the economical aspect by the ideal of demonstrating a higher acquisition power than another thing. The World Trade Center demonstrated being a more important icon because their construction cost. The World Trade Center construction on 1975 was about $400 million, nowadays about 2,300 millions. On the other hand, the Empire State Building cost was about $40 million on 1929. Nowadays, it should be about around $635 million. This example can be explained by the fact that the Empire State was developed on the time of a financial crisis, but the World Trade Center on a normal page of the economical history of USA. Another aspect that differentiates the World Trade Center economic dominance from the Empire State Building was the use both buildings had got. The World Trade Center was primarily a government building where the people money kind of merged on it. The quantity of money is usually higher than the private industry. By the other hand, the Empire State Buildings is nowadays a private building where private companies has their offices. On the economical aspect, we can conclude that the World Trade Center was much more important on the money involved on the building and usage than the Empire State Building. On the cultural aspect, the main divisions are the lifestyles that each icon demonstrates, the education of the people involved on them, and the taste of the icons. The Empire State Building has a higher level of cultural aspects than the World Trade Center. The reasons why the Empire State has better level of cultural branch is because the Empire State Building involves common, fancy, well-educated people as tourists, actors, journalists, and also executives on their facilities than the World Trade Center that had only a height average of executives. The differences of diversity of people can be a factor of the difference between the two buildings because in fact both buildings had a high amount of well-educated people. But on the taste aspect, the main division is focused on their architectural beauty. The Empire State Building has an Art Deco designed by the most important architects of the world that exemplified the dream of the man of touching the sky. But on the World Trade Center side, the main design was focused as a government building, a gray, square shaped building, something that isn't interesting to see and appreciate. But the difference of height from the Empire State to the World Trade Center was about 16 floors, because the Empire State had 104 floors and the World Trade Center had 110 floors. That's also the World Trade Center were two towers instead of one like the Empire State. Besides of that, the Empire State Building has a higher cultural level than the World Trade Center had. To conclude, the main difference of the three aspects political, economical, and cultural shows in which building the higher class people were or was located. By the political aspect, the World Trade Center has a higher level than the Empire State Building by its usage. On the economical aspect, the World Trade Center had also the higher level by the construction costs and the money the building managed. Finally, on the cultural aspect, the Empire State Building has a higher level but only by the good taste it represents. That's why we can approve the main statement that the World Trade Center was a building where the higher classes of USA were represented. That could be a reason why on the 11th of November of 2001, on the terrorist attacks, the main objective was the World Trade Center towers, but not the Empire State Building, because the World Trade Center was a better symbol of the power and dominance of for USA to the world.